seconds left. Eagles by 8. Brady lines them up. He's back again. He steps up. He's hit. He stumbles. He is throwing it deep for the end zone, and it is batted around and incomplete. And the game is over. The game is over. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Miho, joined as always by my co-host Pags with the Too Close to Call podcast series. And this is the Road to Victory podcast, where our birds are now 1-0, baby.
E-O-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's go. 1-0. For the fourth year in a row. Doug hasn't lost on week 1 game.
Oh, let's go. He fucking gave his best effort this past weekend. I'll tell you what, though.
Yeah, he did. He was like, I'm going to leave the fans. They're really high on this team. I'm going to give them something to worry about to start this season off.
Yeah, man, unbelievable. What were you thinking? What were you feeling when you were watching the beginning of that game?
I know you were texting me like, it's all good. I mean, I had a little bit of fear, like, what the hell is going on, mainly about the defense, and I still don't feel great about them, but I kept saying in the back of my head, like, all right, Carson's going to get this. We're going to get it rolling. And then when Doug went for it on fourth down, ball got batted down, I'm like, oh, my God, like, take the 3 points there. I started questioning myself for a little bit there.
I felt confident, and if you were in my inner circle, you were granted access to being able to be relaxed through the entirety of that first half, because anybody I spoke to, I told them, I said, hey, don't be surprised if this is a slow start. I don't need the boo birds coming out when we're going into halftime down 7 to 10 points here. And Pags, I mean, honestly, the reason I saw that coming in all reality was the fact that Wentz and these guys didn't play in the preseason, the fact that 4 of our 11 defensive starters didn't play and or barely practiced in training camp at all. I mean, Cox, Bradham, Darby, Barnett never really played. And then on the flip side of the ball, Case Keenum was battling for a job. So that guy's been playing locked-in football for about 6 weeks now. Like, even in practice, he'd had to be on the top of his game because he's trying to hold off a rookie. So things that the Eagles are throwing at him here, he's going to be prepared for, just because since the moment he got on campus or wherever the hell they were for training camp, he had to be Johnny on the spot. So I'm seeing this, I'm thinking, all right, maybe a little bit slow, we don't score. I certainly didn't see them on all 3 of their first 3 possessions getting points and putting our ass down 17-0.
That's actually a very good point. I really didn't think of that with Case Keenum and the whole him just being locked in this whole time. It's easy to go out and play a game after that. And you saw it on Thursday with Trubisky and Rodgers. It takes a while for an offense to click, and luckily ours clicked in the second half of that game and didn't take a whole game to get their bearings. But I'm proud of the guys. I mean, it's a good feeling, 1-0, getting that division win right off the bat. And now we got an Atlanta team who looks beatable. So it's a good time to start this season, man. And Carson looked like he is in his 2017 form.
Oh, I think so for sure. And may I toot my own horn once again here, but the steal of the fantasy football draft, I took Mr. Desean Jackson in like the 11th round. Because, oh, baby, did you know this was coming, man? He threw at him how many times, dude? 12. He had 8 catches for 150, 30 yards, a couple of scores. He not only had the deep passes, but was basically the go-to guy on third down, it seemed, almost every time. And I'm going, ooh, that's the steal of the draft. That's the steal of the draft. And, oh, by the way, he was on my bench for week 1. Damn it!
Here's the thing, though. You're going to start him next week. He's going to get like 3 catches.
I know he's going to suck balls next week.
That's the life of being a fantasy owner with Desean Jackson on your team. It's either freaking
I don't know, man.
Really
he seemed real impressive. He may be up for a huge year because he's a better receiver than when he left, dude. I mean, he's running these out routes. The ball's on time. He's finally got a guy that can get him the rock, too.
And he's talking shit. He brings that freaking edge.
How about that shit? What was it? First drive, second drive, and all of a sudden, 15 on Desean. There it is. That's why Chip Kelly wasn't the biggest fan.
That is the prototypical exactly why Chip was like, get him out of here.
He's fucking swinging already. It's like play 5.
Dude, that's exactly why Philly loves him. I mean, I don't want a 15-yard penalty, but hey, man, showing that swag out there, I love it.
It definitely wears off on everybody else, I'll tell you that much. But you brought up Carson Wentz, dude, and he was absolutely impressive. And specifically on third down, if you look into the stats, was just dynamite.
Yes, he was unbelievable. His accuracy was on point. And I have a little riff with the NFL stat keepers there.
Oh, dude.
How the hell is that a rushing touchdown for Alshon Jeffrey?
I have Wentz. That shit cost me fantasy points.
I understand the concept of it, that it was a lateral and not a pass. But when has that not been a receiving touchdown?
Dude, I was so pissed. Every time on the game, I mean, let's see here. I was between like 6 and 12 adult beverages at the time, and they kept putting up Wentz's stats saying 3 touchdowns. And in my head, I'm going, Jeffrey, Jackson. All right, Kev, you're a little bit drunk here. Maybe you're missing something. Don't say anything because nobody else in the room is saying anything right now. But what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I had no idea until after the game, dude. I was so just confused.
They're like, that's a rushing touchdown. I was like, how?
Yeah, first of his career.
In college, if you throw a bubble screen, that's a touchdown pass.
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Oh, my gosh, dude. But like you're saying here, Wentz, his third down efficiency, I forget exactly what the numbers were, but it was like 2 incompletions, a couple of touchdowns. Deshaun's big play that really got everybody kind of settled in was on a long third down. And what you didn't notice, probably watching it the first time, but I rewatched the game this morning, and I realized that it was literally the third deep shot in a row that they took. They ran a deep shot. He missed Aguilar. Then the next play, it was another deep shot. It was that bang play to Goddard down the sideline. And then finally on the third time, they hit on the deep ball. And it was just wild to see Peterson go to the well that many times in a row. Usually he doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't. And I think people downplay how tough of a catch that was for Desean because that hit his helmet. And how many years for the past couple of years have we seen Torrey Smith, Mike Wallace, Aguilar drop that ball, and Desean just made it look like a freaking easy basket catch?
Oh, he sure did, dude. It's fun to watch him track the ball in the air. And then his next touchdown pass, the long pass later in the game. So it was their second possession of the second half where they were down 20-14 at the time, and they went to the deep ball, right? Back again to Jackson, and once again, rewatching the film, this is the shit you don't see live that was super impressive, was everybody gets to the line like they typically do, and then they do that little half kind of look to the sideline. Do we want to audible? What are we doing here? And Wentz and Jackson and Aguilar all did a sign. I don't know if I should give it away, but they did like the wipe down of the chest, essentially saying, hey, here's our route combination based on what the defense is doing. And then that double go route combination, which ended up splitting the safety, they zoomed in on Wentz, and this was fantastic, was his helmet was looking to the left, and yet his eyes were looking to the right. And if you're a defensive back 15, 20 yards away, you can only see his helmet. You can't see where the hell his eyes are going. So he was looking him off with his helmet and not his eyes. And then once he saw that safety turn his hips and kind of run with Aguilar, that's when he knew, I'm going to Jackson here on this half of the field. And just those little details that all happened in split seconds. It was, oh man, dude, it just got the motor going if you're a football guy. I'll tell you that much.
Dude, this offense So we have the Deshaun deep threat. That just opens up so much. You have Ertz and Goddard in the middle of the play. You have Aguilar in the slot, who we rarely saw yesterday. And, oh, by the way, if you're going to throw your best receiver or best corner, who are you going to cover, Deshaun? Or are you going to throw him on Alshon, who still got his against one of the best corners in football?
Yeah, so let's dive into those guys here a little bit, mainly the Ertz, Goddard, Aguilar trio, because there were slight murmurs that Aguilar had to be talked to because he was a little upset that he didn't get a lot of balls thrown his way. You know, he didn't contribute probably as much as he wanted to. And I think Dallas Goedert had 1 catch, 2 catches, and Ertz had, under 3 or 5 or something like that. So nowhere near the pace of 116 or whatever it was last year. What are your thoughts on keeping everybody happy moving forward when the fact is there's only one football?
You're going to have that with the amount of weapons you have. I think that everybody's going to get over it. Wentz is going to distribute the ball to who's open and who he thinks. He's not just going to be targeting Ertz. I think everybody understands that. If Aguilar needs a little pep talk there, then great. Give him a couple balls next week. But I think it's going to go week by week. But, man, it's going to be who's got the best matchup against him. And this week it was Deshaun. So Ertz had 5 catches. Nothing like what we had last year, but hey, 54 yards, no touchdowns, but a long 26-yard catch. It's just tough, man. There's so many weapons. It's unbelievable. I think that Wentz made it a point to get the ball to Alshon this week. I don't know. I can't prove that, but I think Alshon was one of those people that was upset last year about the targeting of Ertz constantly, and I think Carson had it in the back of his mind to kind of get this guy the ball in the beginning of the season.
That's tough to do as a quarterback. I'm putting myself in that mind frame of this guy's typically going to be covered by the best defender on the other team. Josh Norman shadowed Alshon Jeffrey. So you play into their hands just a little bit if you say, hey, okay, I'm going to eliminate that matchup and basically look elsewhere because we're going to have matchup wins across the board, like you said, with Jackson or Ertz or whoever. But at the same time, if that happens every week, Jeffrey's going to lose his mind, man. You got to feed the guy, right? So you do have to throw those 50-50 balls occasionally. And honestly, where we saw him have success, I think, with Foles mostly last year was that quick slant game. Big bodies, able to get position and hit that slant game. And I think you're just going to have to filter those in every once in a while, whether you complete it or not, just to keep feeding the man.
Yes, I completely agree. And if I had any gripes about it, I wish Doug would have stuck with the run game a little bit and the choice.
You got a gripe about that? I was going to say, man, 39 pass plays, 30 run plays. That's pretty good balance.
I think it was more my choice of run plays, like the 4th and 1 or the 4th and 2 when we ran the toss to Sproles. I'm like, I don't need that in my life, Doug, right now. Come on.
Yeah, let me get your thoughts on that because Darren Sproles got 10, 12 carries, something like that, and pretty much every one of them after watching the film again was an outside zone or a sweep or a run play. And Jordan Howard, only with 4 or 5 carries, was effective in every one of them and finished forward and seemed to be that big back to it that we need. Now, do you think that was just Doug kind of feeding Sproles first game back, let's get him involved, or do you think it was a matchup game against Washington in particular that they thought that they could get to the edges and win on those types of runs? Because that was one of my notes, was that for whatever reason, I was just left wanting to see more of Jordan Howard.
Yeah, I think it was a matchup game where Howard's not as great on the edge. So Sproles is a little more elusive on the outside. I would have liked to have seen a little more Miles Sanders doing that. But, dude, I think it's going to be a lot like the 2017 season where we're like, hey, we have LeGarrette Blount. Where the hell is he? And then all of a sudden there's a game where LeGarrette Blount bursts out and has 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that's what you're going to see out of Jordan Howard. It's not going to be consistent, but there's going to be those games where you have that matchup and you're going to see a lot of Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard. I think that's just the way Doug does it, and the Redskins have a pretty formidable front seven, especially when they bring Landon Collins into the box there, so it's tough to run against that team. I think that's just the thought process of this game, and it could be different next week against Atlanta, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's too early to really go, oh my God, he barely played. I mean, Corey Clement got 3 snaps, and I think 2 of them were quarterback sneaks, where he just happened to be in the formation. So he truly wasn't involved in the game plan at all outside of special teams. So running back rotation, certainly something to keep an eye on moving forward. But we've covered the offensive side of the ball here pretty in depth. So why don't we jump across the line of scrimmage here to the defense? And what were your thoughts there? Questions, concerns? Because I have a few of my own, mainly the secondary and cornerback position did not play a great game on Sunday.
My thought process was along the lines of a lot of these guys didn't play. They definitely didn't tackle well in the beginning. You saw that touchdown against Vernon Davis. That shit should never happen. But I thought the D-line did a pretty good job in the front 7, stuffing the run. I mean, guys had a couple decent runs, but they never really got stuck with the run game and could get it going.
That really stepped up after halftime, because in the first half, in those first 3 drives, they ran the ball just well enough. Like it was 3 yards, 4 yards, enough for play action to be effective. And then as you watch the film, when it flipped to the second half, those 4 and 3 yard runs turned to 0 and 1 yard runs, and then obviously everything filters from there. And like you mentioned, man, that was kind of the formula in 2017, was get the team in 3rd and long, let the front 4 eat, and the secondary do their thing. But it just didn't seem to, transition this year, especially early on, with people running past Rasul Douglas once again.
Yeah, Rasul doing his same old thing. I have zero faith in him covering guys man-to-man. I really need more of a pass rush, man. I keep thinking about Clowney being on this roster, and it would help us so much. And they just don't get enough pressure. At the end of the game, they start getting in Keenum's face and stuff. But in that first half, Keenum had all day. And then right before the first play of the third quarter for them, that dude was wide open. McLaurin was wide open. If he hits him, this game's freaking 24-14, and we might see a little different result here.
Yeah, so that was the first play after the Jackson touchdown, when the Eagles took the lead 21-20. The next play, wide open, deep ball touchdown for Washington, and Keenum missed it. And obviously they went 3 and out after that and changed the whole complexion of the game. But that one was on Sidney Jones. So it wasn't even Rasul Douglas getting beat another time. It was Sidney Jones got beat, Douglas got beat. Darby was okay. He dropped an interception. There was another play in the end zone where should have been picked off, was almost completed, and then ended up being incomplete between the 3 of them. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here, man? It's just, if you're Jalen Mills, you got to be feeling good about what you just watched, because you're going, man, I'm going to get a shot here. These guys are struggling.
Yeah, because the word around the team was Jalen Mills lost his position from being injured, and they were like, nah, Jalen, we'll let you come back. We'll give you a chance to fight for your position. I think that's what they were doing. They're just giving their boy Jalen a shot at playing again.
And Washington really found success in between the numbers, man. Everything was inside. And I had mentioned once again that the linebacker position for the Eagles was going to be the area that they looked to exploit. And you mentioned the Vernon Davis touchdown. That was on a safety. That was on Sandejo, who was playing kind of down in the box in that position there during that down, and ended up blowing the coverage and then missing the tackle. And then a lot of the drives early on, it was checkdowns to the running backs, play action to the tight ends, and really just lived in the middle of the field. And I think that's going to be a theme this year, because even if with Camus, Grugier, Hill, or KGH, whatever the hell you want to call him, I don't see him taking away a lot of those opportunities. So that's going to be something you have to watch. And something that jumped out after looking at the snap counts was Jonathan Cyprien. Didn't get any playing time at all, man. They went strictly with Sandejo. Do you think that'll be a theme going forward, or what do you think when you hear that?
I think that Jim Schwartz has his guys. Sometimes Cyprien's going to fit the mold, and maybe Sandejo other days. But if Sandejo keeps tackling the way he does on those plays, he's not going to play, because this defense really relies on its secondary to be great tacklers. And last year, a lot of the issues came along where we weren't tackling well in the secondary and we were getting gashed. So it's gonna be a week by week thing, I think.
That's another thing to keep an eye on. There's still some of these rotations and battles going on here into the regular season that we talked about in length during training camp. But overall, the Birds, like we mentioned, down 17-0, and then I believe it was 20-7. Pull out the victory. They give up a late touchdown. Washington covers the spread. Covers the 9.5. Backdoor with like 10 seconds left. Talk about a bad beat.
Those motherfuckers. I had the Birds 11.5, and I was like, son of a bitch. 4th and goal or whatever, and they complete it, and I was just like, yep, this is why I didn't gamble on football.
Yeah, 2 fourth down completions on that last drive.
I was like, yep, this is why I didn't gamble on football last year. It freaking pisses me off.
Week 1, and I'm already pissed.
But fuck.
Oh, shit, man. But one bad news coming out of the week. It seems here, since the game and pre-recording, it's come out that Malik Jackson, our defensive tackle, big signing from Jacksonville, has a quote-unquote significant injury, and Doug Peterson would not confirm that he will even be back this year. So rumors flying that it's a season-ending injury, and even if it's not, it sounds like it's going to be at least a month or two, probably closer to 2. So what do you think they do there, man? Do you see any moves? You mentioned Clowney before. Obviously, hindsight's 2020 may have been a quality addition. I know they're not the same position, but what are you thinking? Do they add a name, or do they just go with somebody off the practice squad? What's the move here, GM Pags?
You wait it out a couple weeks, see how serious this thing is, and then by the time the trade deadline rolls around, maybe you do make a move. Maybe there's somebody looking to dump. Maybe somebody's lost a bunch of games and looking to unload some of their players, clearing up some cap space with Alshon, so we got some money to throw around. So I think you wait and see right now. I don't think it's pressing need as of now. You still got Timmy Jernigan, but thank God we signed him at the end of free agency this year. So yeah, that's a crushing blow, because I was really excited to watch Malik Jackson play along with Fletcher Cox there. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope they do end up getting somebody, or hopefully Malik Jackson comes back. That's tough, man.
If this is a season-ending injury, do you think Chris Long's phone will ring?
Him or Connor Barwin, maybe. Get one of those guys off the scrap heap and be like, come on, guys, come back and play. I would love to see Chris Long back. I think he's been staying in game shape.
The reason he wasn't coming back was because his downs were going to be reduced, and mainly his passing downs, because Malik Jackson's strength is pass rushing. So you weren't going to put that third defensive end on the field, and now you may, and our defensive ends are already question marks. So I think the short-term move is they're going to promote Bruce Hector from the practice squad, who they re-signed after they traded him to Arizona. Arizona cut him, and then the Eagles re-signed him to the practice squad. So he'll probably get promoted just because he knows the system. But if you see next week where we get no pass rush on Matt Ryan, he may have a field day back there, and that's where I hadn't thought about it till just now. But I'm probably texting Chris Long going, hey, make sure you're working out here, bub.
Keep doing some wind sprints here, Chris. But let's end this podcast on a positive note. Somebody we haven't talked about this entire podcast, and somebody who never gets spoken about at a position where nobody talks about him. What do you think?
Let's do it, man. What do you got here?
The freaking Eagles offensive line is probably the best offensive line in football, and the most underrated player on this team is Isaac Seumalo.
Samalu, the turnstile.
This dude, I was so down on him when I was like, why is Wisniewski not playing? Why is Wisniewski getting cut? The more and more I watch this kid, he's got fucking hands. His feet look good. He looks fucking comfortable. And he's great in the run game because he's such a big body. He can get his hands on the D linemen and push them out of the way and create a hole for our running backs. It's really great to see, and it's something that I was not expecting going into this season, expecting to have 2 solid guards, let alone one with Brandon Brooks coming off an injury.
People were saying he could be the weak link of the offensive line there, and you're telling me not so much.
I don't think so, man. And Peter stays healthy. Like, if this O-line stays intact, not only do they look great in the Sports Illustrated body issue, but they can fucking play some football, too.
Hey, Hey, if you want to see a 340-pound man pretty much naked, why don't you go ahead and buy this magazine?
That was just great, dude. Lane Johnson has like a freaking 8-pack, and he's 300 pounds.
How about Jason Peters was like, no, sir, I will not be nude for this magazine.
And they're like, all right, who's the next best option? Mailata. Come on over, buddy.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, they played well across the board, man. You said Samalu. Kudos to Brandon Brooks, playing 8 months off an Achilles injury. And like we said, 340 pounds. That's pretty unbelievable. And then Jason Peters starts and finishes game 1, Pag. So our over-under of 7 to 8 here. 1 for JP says you guys can suck it.
I will gladly be wrong with that over-under there, buddy. Play all 16 and then 3 more in the playoffs. Go ahead, buddy. Do it.
Do it. Prove us wrong. But
yes, please.
Yeah, slight announcement for all you listeners out there. Some good news for you is that the Road to Victory podcast will now be coming to you twice a week. It's going to be a Monday kind of reactionary pod followed by a Thursday, Friday preview of the following week. That way we're not talking your ear off here for longer than a half hour. But we've decided you guys want to hear more Birds talk, want to break it down, give you some previews, let you know where to put your entertainment dollars, so to speak. And I think it's going to be fun, man. 1-0 so far. This next one in Atlanta, I think it's going to be a good test, even though they sucked first.
They got their shit pushed in, and hopefully we can continue to pushing their shit in.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that a little bit, man. I did not see that one coming.
Everybody brace yourself because we got Collinsworth for the first time this year. So everybody get ready.
Let's go. All the replays. He's going to be on the money.
God. It's going to drive me crazy. He drives me nuts.
Oh, shit.
But, hey, man, 1-0, feeling good. A Monday is always better when the Eagles win. We're not depressed. Let's keep this thing rolling. And I'm really excited about this. Ever since we started doing this podcast, I looked forward to football season because it's our sweet spot, and I fucking love it. And I can't wait to talk to you again on Thursday about it. We will talk to you guys later.
Peace.
9 seconds left. Eagles by 8. Brady lines them up. He's back again. He steps on. He's hit. He stumbles. He is throwing it deep for the end zone, and it is batted around and incomplete. And the game is over. The game is over. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.